Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. What a day. And we're back. Yes, look at us. Back. CJTV. CJTV. The good times, the good day. Midterms are upon us. We are live on YouTube, X, Rumble, and Kick. Twitch had a Twitch. Yeah, so is what it is. We got the right URL and stream keys. Just is what it is. Sometimes you have those technological advancement problems. Just is what it is. Chats are open. Chat is open. Hit us with something. Picking up chats from X, Rumble, YouTube, all of it. So, tonight's episode. Let's kind of cover this for a minute. Right now, it's the starting lineup. Criminal justice and those people who think or want to try to do the job. Or the lack of the recruitment. Hey, is what it is. It's 2026, right? Sometimes it's easier to sit at home and watch us, CJTV. Without further ado, let's hit it. 899 downloads. Yes, the actual documentation for today's show is out, believe it or not. It is published right there on the screen. It is published out. So go to Facebook, right up here, right there. Facebook, Dr. Mike Gurley, CJTV, lowercase JTV, and download it and read it and find out. But the co-authors, The co-researchers for today, Chloe Hensley, Dylan McDonald, and John Miller, also known as Big A JJ. Yeah, the big A word. We've got that. The big A word. It's a private entity joke, right? Yeah, it's kind of one of those things you keep in the classroom with a whole bunch of scholars. Yep. You don't want everybody losing their cookies, so to say. The recruitment process. What's up with it? Why is it so hard to get the cops nowadays? Well, let's kind of break this down. Break it down hard. Fewer and fewer people even choose to go to school. Period. Done over. Fewer and fewer people even choose to go to law enforcement, the military, or anything that's a satisfying public service job. Yeah. Sociology, psychology, CJ. So, choosing the career fields. It's an influence. What does this mean for public safety today and you? Now, we're not talking about, the old burden of policy of let's embed the social workers with the police. No, we're not talking about that. Let's embed the psychology people with the police. No, we're not talking about that. Let's embed, Ronald McDonald with the police. Might as well. I mean, it's about the quality that you're going to get if someone does not have an education and they're embedded with law enforcement to respond. Period. What are your thoughts on it? Embedding sociology professionals with the police, responding to violent scenes. Put your thoughts on that. Is that good? Is that safe? I mean, some of those people haven't been through any type of formal training whatsoever. It would be up to the police to protect them, those ones responding, federal agencies, local, sheriff's department, state, city police, whatever. It's a general shift in the generation. Period. Done over. Well, look at 1941, the greatest generation. Those that went to war, 19-year-olds on the battlefront of Normandy, Germany. Not anymore. It's 2026. The younger generation prioritizes work, life, and balance. Yeah, work, life, and balance. Where you're going to work, how hard you work, and balancing it. It's a balancing act. A lot of you know. Mental health, the social impact, the traditional job security needs to be there. That's what people are looking for. Not the pageantry of it takes me an hour to get ready to go to work every day to put on all this equipment or put it in the car. And there's a high likelihood of, danger. Yeah, is what it is. The impact of the traditional job, the benefits, the health insurance, the criminal justice careers are increasingly viewed as a high stress, high political, volatile mechanism lacking flexibility. Period. Done over. That's the way it's becoming. Now, is it? Yeah, it is. It sure as heck is. But so is being a vet. So is being a kitty cat specialist at the vet center. You're going to get bit. You're going to get scratched. It's dangerous. My gosh. Who wants cat scratch fever? Give me a thumbs up in the chat. Monitoring those that I said earlier. YouTube, Rumble, and Kick. So put something in, give me a thumbs up or a 5 and a 5. Let me know if the audio and the video is kicking off pretty good. The cultural shift represents the fundamental change. That's the legacy of recruitment. The legacy of recruitment in CJ has to change. It's got to catch up, so to say, with 2026. No, we're not talking about 2025. 2025's done, gone past, like that floating, misty piece of fog in your backyard after the March blizzard came through and hit everybody. Now let's talk about critical things. Yeah, the critical things. Defund the cops. Take the money away. There's a misrepresentation of that too. And you're going to hear all kind of people defund the police. It does not mean take the police off the streets. It does not mean take the money out of the departments. It means take the money and put it somewhere else. Yes, somewhere else. Where? It's up to the city administrators, state administrators, the federal government. But thanks to, Biden, President Biden, in that first State of the Union address and that piss everybody off, fund the police statement and the faces, the snarls, the growls, and then the hand claps because it was a specific political agenda. So there, we have it. The political agenda and the politically volatile situation does truly exist. It exists in society. Riots, fires, people in hospitals. Kind of terrible. Defund the police. Now it's fund the police. The backlash, the public perception, the intense media scrutiny, and the polarization of political narratives. That's what's damaged the profession of law enforcement. It's not law enforcement that damaged it, it's the politics. Period, done over. Think about this. Why do you need new laws when you should enforce the laws that you already have? It's kind of a question that a dodo bird couldn't even ask themselves. Many potential recruits in society for law enforcement, they come from diverse backgrounds, cultural, race, religion, subcultures within a culture. Even something as far as choice and venue of genre and music has an influence on why one goes into law enforcement. Yes, music. Yes, the thrill, the excitement, the dopamine, the rush, the adrenaline, the push. Family. Yeah, my grandmother was a law enforcement officer. My grandfather was this. My grandfather was that. Yeah. It all has bearing to the choice in it, the diverse backgrounds. And within society right now, the view of policing and corrections is faced with loads of skepticism. Period, done. What shoulda, who, what, when, where, what's the benefit? What am I going to get out of this? The big me. Yeah, the big me. And there's nothing wrong with the big me in selecting law enforcement or a public service atmosphere or professional endeavoring. Nothing wrong with that. I always tell everybody that I talk to, when you're in the interview the agency too. Ask questions. Make sure the agency is a good fit for you. And that's one of the problems. You see all kind of ads on social media. So-and-so department's hiring, this department's hiring, and all the cool stuff, the benefits, the days off, the pay once you hit this specific level, the numbers, the gotcha hook game. That's on paper. It's fancy. It's kind of like a military recruiter. They'll lie to you to get you in the door. Fill a pair of boots is what it is, people. Those of you that know what I'm talking about that are prior military and law enforcement, you understand. You got to fill the boot with quality people. It's quality, and that's not quantity for the numeric. The skepticism. It's associating law enforcement with other careers with systematic problems rather than just public service and public solutions. Now, what am I talking about here? I'm talking about the response of the government entity and the support and the backing for law enforcement. Yeah, the support and the backing. When you do not back your people, regardless of what the job is or what the profession is, the numbers drop. Nobody's going to realistically, unskeptically view that job as a profit, a gain, a career shift in a positive direction. The programs themselves must combat misinformation, the law enforcement agencies while they're recruiting. And it all starts with the top dogs. So when you're interviewing for that one critical agency, remember, you are supposed to interview the agency as well. But that's only applicable to that small number of true academic professionals or non-academic professionals that want to do the job. But believe me, the better benefit for society and the sociological policing and the solving problems through service to the community comes in a prettier bow and better service with those that are educated. Not showing up to protests, throwing bottles, and jumping up and down on cars. That's not going to help anybody with anything. It's just going to create a much larger problem in society. So, the recruitment bottleneck. All right. After graduation, the ever few effect of graduation, because there are very few people that actually go to a university, a school, and gain some type of real value in education about the career field that they want to go into. Now, I know we could get into a trade school and make a whole lot of money. We could get into a trade school and do this. Yeah, of course. Sure you can. But then again, law enforcement agencies have you beat because sometimes the government has better benefits unless you get that trade job for the government, and then your benefits are subject to the written legislative law of what the government will give the practitioner of the trade skill a benefit for. Holidays off, paid, sick, how much you have to pay for your medical insurance, how much your deductibles are. Yes, those are all different within agencies and the trade, and the other government entities of service. Thus, I say, interview the agency while they're interviewing you. The lack of graduates. Now, this just means fewer qualified people, fewer qualified candidates for policing and corrections. Think about this for a minute, and let's be for real. I know this is an academic show, and I'm going to go ahead and close this. I would like to thank my assistant researchers, Chloe, Dylan, and JJ. Big A, JJ, thank you. Think about this for a minute. Do you want a scholarly, educated law enforcement officer to show up on the scene? It's kind of like the episode that we've got coming up Friday night. Fit or fat, the pop or the pop S. We'll explain that in the show. Do you want the overweight, just obese law enforcement officer saving your mother, your sister, while they're being stabbed to death because they have to take a break in the quick run or sprint to the killer that's stabbing your family member? Or do you want the one that does the 100-yard sprint like that on the killer? Bam! Over. Family member still injured, but will live. Killer, stabber, attempted murderer, whatever it would be. Aggravated assaulter, in custody, threat stopped, threat terminated. Or do you want the one out on the street without an education? This is a problem in society. The majority of, the generation now can't even write their name in cursive. Hate to break the news to you. Yes. Go ask the young people. Write your full name in cursive and see what the response is. This creates a compounding crisis for agencies who struggle to fill these positions. It's not about just fill the boots, fill the slot. It's about the best candidate from the candidate pool. Yes, the best candidate from the candidate pool, but the best candidate in the pool of candidates may not be quality, period, because the entire pool of candidates do not meet a specific educational and or standard level, and the academy is not going to change behavior. The academy is not going to give you a fundamental education that you should have got in elementary school all the way to grade or all the way to K-12, high school, or a university or college, or a specific discipline or practitioner's educational concentration. The academy is not going to give you that. So the agencies have to pick the best out of the actual group of people. That's a problem. Think about a impact on society with people that are pushed through the academy, not make it through the academy, but are pushed through the academy just to get somebody out on the street with credentials and have them in a car responding to calls. It leads to staffing shortages. Yeah, staffing, even after that officer is certified, bona fide, stamped on both sides, and then suddenly they've been pushed through the academy. Oh, God, we need people. Let's be lenient. Then the lawsuit happens, and that officer is in a civil lawsuit. So is the law enforcement agency because of the lack of attention. The recruiting problem. Society is lacking in the drive and lacking in the push. Why is this? Well, one would think it's not your problem. Yes, it is. It's everybody's problem. Everyone that watches this little segment and thinks, this is boring to me. It sounds more direct and more academic and educational than anything. And calling those out who do not want to serve society, but yet want to be a part in society. Yeah, it's a call out. It is. But you're going to be the first one to push that lawsuit, aren't you? Look at the cops. They didn't know what they were doing. They were uneducated. Chats are open. Somebody give me something. Give me a thumbs up. We got people watching on X, Rumble, YouTube, and Ashley Kick. So, the standards get lowered. Now, I'd like to recall back to my day when I went through the academy. It was kind of like compared to boot camp. Basic boot. Not really. It was close, but it wasn't. It wasn't a selection pool. It wasn't a pipeline, or it wasn't anything like that. But the downstream liability is considered now. What if I get hurt in the academy? Me. Well, there's nothing wrong with that either. But when you do get selected, here's one of the big problems for recruiting that a lot of people do not understand, and it's the crusher for people to get selected. If you're not physically fit, that's going to hurt you in the academic area, because in the academic area, the same as university, school, college, whatever it may be, curriculum concentration education. If you're in that academy and you do get selected because you were just the best candidate out of the pool of candidates that weren't very, quality, and you're not physically ready, it's going to hurt you academically, because while you're working on the academics, you're going to be worried about that PT, that run, those push-ups, those pull-ups, those sit-ups, that sprint, that fight day. Yes, that fight day, with the gloves, with the batons, the day you get sprayed with pepper spray, tased. Yeah, get tased and drop like a rock. Pow. Yeah, you're going to get tased. Yes, you are. You're going to get tased. Sometimes it may be the full 5-second ride or the 3-second. I've done the 3-second and the 5-second, and X26, M26, and the Taser 10. That thing's a beast, man. It's like little cluster missiles coming out at you. So the quality of the candidate, those in society that truly want to step up, perform, train, be ready, the competency. It's kind of like preparing for the military, right? It's kind of like preparing for that bad holiday meal you're going to have with somebody. Competing with the private sector. Oh my gosh, here it goes. Money, the great symbol of this with the lines, the money, the private sector. Yeah, the private sector has more money. Hands down, done over. There's more money there. Why? The limitations and restrictions. It's a legislative body. It's a government. You defund the police did not mean wipe the police out. That's not what it meant. Now, I know. Good thing, bad thing, right wing, left wing, conservative, libertarian, Democrat, Republican, all kind of confusing arguments. Biden, Kamala, Trump, all the political jargon and lingo in it. It didn't mean defund the police and just wipe the police off the face of the earth. It meant take some fundamental money and to put it into other structures to work with the police. It would be somewhat similar to forensic experts that are trained to work with the police. Now, I know somebody's going to pop a hate chat when they watch this, or a hate comment, but that's what it is. Society has created the need for law enforcement. Society has created the recruitment problem as well, but yet society pushes on every day. So when society pushes on, the private sector steps in. Cybersecurity firms, corporate security divisions, loss prevention. Yes, loss prevention officers sometimes make more than law enforcement because they're loss prevention for corporations. Yes, corporations making product and shipping it overseas. Imagine how much a loss prevention security officer with a university education, a degree, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, imagine how much one of those people makes for ExxonMobil or an oil company that handles billions of dollars a day. Woo. Oh my gosh. That's harsh competition. The division of the private sector, it's aggressive. The analytical minds in the criminal justice programs, need to capture an idea on this. And this is just not, stating that, hey, society's lazy. It's stating that there's a fault in the government. There's a fault in law enforcement to not recognize this. The private sector, salaries, benefits, training. Yeah, the security intelligence, the double sector job. Yeah, it's a double sector job. You get the one job, and then you're getting more education and training to advance in something that makes more money and would be the private sector in business than the legislative body. When I say this, I mean business has the opportunity to increase money. The legislative body is set on a financial board. Yeah. What's our term? What's the link? What is our strategy with this little bit small pile of chump change we have for the state or for the city? Heck, look at New York. Man, that's horrible what's happening up there. Insane taxes just to recoup for failure before Mamdani took office. It was already in a bucket of collapse. Now the argument of let's do more. Political nightmare. Even the political venue that's on one side is arguing it in New York. Yep, the double entry level in the pay sector. You get money here, which is astronomically, stupidly higher than law enforcement. Thus, it does demand what? Education. It does demand university. It does demand college. It does demand a curriculum vitae, not a resume. And it does demand references. Remember that. References. Yeah, I get asked for those all the time. Hey, Doc, can you give me a reference for LSAT, reference for grad school? I'm done with grad school. Can you reference me out for a doctoral program? I get asked that stuff all the time. What do you think the private sector is doing also? It is what it is. If we want better recruits in the law enforcement sector from society, we need better programs. I hate to break the news to all the police chiefs and all the legislative bodies, the mayors, the captains, the sheriffs, the FBI super people. Yeah, I'm talking to you, FBI new director. That's a horrible commercial. I don't know if you guys saw a couple of episodes back, but I was asked to watch that open area active shooter. I almost threw up in my mouth a little bit. You want to get everybody killed, that's the video to watch. Yeah, so we need to change the policies in the program. What actually looks better to society? Yes, look, the image. It's kind of like I'm out on the town. Eye candy. It's the same thing with a person's career, a person's future, how a person perceives the entity or the body of the organization that they're going to go to. It just is what it is. Skepticism from both practitioners and students. Heck, I got a couple days in this. More than a couple days, obviously. But I've got skepticism in it too. If somebody said, hey, Doc, would you go back to law enforcement? I would be really skeptical. Why? What's the benefit? That's just it. Now, it's good for somebody starting out. Don't get me wrong, just like the military. But what's the benefit? You got to argue that. Now, I would interview the agency just as much as they would interview me, but I would interview with that linguistic razor blade to get the real answers I wanted. But the skepticism from the practitioners that went to a university, a school to get the fundamental education in the CJ system, they have the ability to be more selective than those who did not. And when I say those who did not, there are a lot of agencies that just simply do not require university or college, period, whatsoever. Either a GED or a high school diploma. A high school diploma or a GED. And in some organizations, example, and mark my words on this, mark my words, and it's probably going to break some hearts out there and hurt some police chiefs' feelings and some sheriffs and some academic developing scholars in the university and some cops, but it is much harder to become a state trooper in the selection process than it is to become a police officer. A lot of agencies in the United States require associate degrees or an amount of credit, university, college credit, before you can continue on in the selection process. The majority of state trooper programs, which is much more difficult to make the cut, the majority of them require a high school diploma. Chew on that fat for a little bit. Chew on it. Now they're like, this guy's lying. No, do your own research. Do your own research. Do your own research. Find out and do your own research how many agencies that are city and or sheriff that require college credits or education or an associate's degree or prefer a bachelor's degree. God forbid they get a master's degree nowadays in 2026. Why? That takes commitment, core values, true turmoil. Self is over. University, degree, education, move forward, career, the job, the practitioner in you. State troopers, the majority of them, you just have to have a high school diploma. Who made that up? Yeah, that's why state trooper associations are better than police associations. Yes, legislatively funded. Do your own research. So, oh my gosh, a lot of cops. I'm probably going to get hate email because I'm calling it out for what it is. But the legislative support for the state versus the legislative support for the city or the county doesn't work that way. The city has its own, county has its own. Mass cities coming together for the organization, the association. Well, state troopers at state. So, a high school diploma is good enough. Yeah, but, you got to fit the image too. But I'm not saying that everybody that's a trooper, everybody that's a cop or sheriffs or FBI or secret squirrel ninja agent is, good looking or healthy, because a lot of them are just fat and overweight and obese. But here we go. Now we're back to the selection poll again. Credibility, the lack of practitioner skills. Students question ROI when degrees don't graduate or guarantee employment. Well, this degree is not going to guarantee me a job. You're right, it's not. It's not going to. But it will give you a better opportunity and a better chance if you unseat that couch, unseat that city, that state, that county, that jurisdiction that you're in, and go somewhere and find a career path that is suitable to you. Sometimes you may have to get up and pack and relocate, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that, Dr. Mike. That's not me. I want to stay here in the community with the family and with the friends and with, well, that's cool. You can do that too. But then again, it creates a wall for recruitment and law enforcement. Yeah, the old arts or science discipline in CJ, the identity of law enforcement, criminal justice in general. And everybody hears criminal justice and they think cops and uniforms and badges. And no, it's not all it is. There's a lot more to it. There are hundreds of jobs out there, thousands of structural pursuits for a job. It's not just a single entity, a uniform and a fast car. I spent like that long on patrol. Kind of wish I spent more time on patrol. Thanks, guys. Ida. Appreciate that. Commander Blackson, thank you. See if he ever watches. Yep, the hybrid approach, the identity crisis, the acceleration. Yep, the theater versus real quality. Oh my gosh, the acceleration, kind of like accelerationism in law enforcement. We had a show about that a few days ago. Why law enforcement has to be so progressive. Well, law enforcement has to be progressive in 2026 for the recruitment process, or there's still going to be a staggering number of lacking in the community. Yeah, lacking. It's not going to be like, everybody's going to choose to become a cop. Not everybody wants to become a cop. Not everybody wants to become a doctor. Not everybody wants to become a vet. Not everybody wants to become a race car driver. It just is what it is. The theater, the glam, the show, the reality, the quality, the current acceleration often prioritizes bureaucratic compliance. Yeah, bureaucratic. Government, policy, bureaucrats. And sometimes that overcomes educational outcomes. Yes. Think of the lack of funding for schools. How many of you do not even know that are watching this show, or how many of you know somebody that does not even know how many amendments there are in the Constitution as of 2026, and how many amendments there were in the first draft, the second draft, and the final draft, let alone where those drafts were done and petitioned and finalized at. Oh, school failed you, didn't it? So the educational outcome and bureaucracy. So we're going to spend a little bit of money to get somebody in an academy, teach them just enough for post standards to get them out on the street to protect and serve and identify sociological problems and problem-oriented policing. Yeah, wrong answer. The programs, the check the boxes, the evolution of the curricula is what's happening. But those with an education, those that are quality, that would really fit the job, fit the profile, they're looking at this too. They're not stupid. They spent the time in the seat learning. They spent the time in the apprenticeships. They spent the time in the internships. They spent the time with the practitioners, the teachers, the instructors, the lecturers, the ones that did the job, that are now in the academic side, building and pushing, and can still outperform you in the gym. Yeah, that's what they're looking at. Meanwhile, non-traditional pathways, boot camps, micro credentials, small amounts of, I went through this school, went through that school, agency specific academics. That's what they're looking for, just to get a boot filled. It's not the quality. It's not the full curriculum vitae. It should be maximum merit of the person, not minimal merit. Everybody passes. There's no failure. It's kind of like bumblebee soccer and child's, baseball and football. Everybody gets a trophy. All of you know that's true. We don't want to leave anybody out. Everybody gets a trophy. Pizza party. Yep. Got to buy those jerseys. Where do you think all that money goes? Everybody gets a trophy. Self-resilience, self-worth, self-pride, self-esteem. Yeah, self-growth. The deliverance of success and the minimum weak basket. That's what society gives. I know. Society producing job-ready candidates, micro-credentials. When I say micro-credentials, I mean barely enough to just scrape the bottom of the barrel to get into selection. Barely. It's not like top of the food chain. The skill mismatch problems. Yep. Graduates of universities, colleges, even, high school, good ones, typically it's going to be private, not the, public, government entity. We know that. Let's not lie about it. Just is what it is. The problem, frequently those that are of that good level of graduate from a degree or a good high school and then go into a CJ platform that requires a high school diploma and nothing else. The workforce. A lot of these people are simply unable to write clear and precise sentences, words. I see it every day. Every day. Well, I got a degree. I've been at a university for 2 years. Well, okay. First class with me. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's crucifixion day. Crucifixion assignment. How many of you know somebody that can't even speak correctly, can't even text correctly? It's all acronym. Alphabetics to mean words because they're too lazy to truly type it out and deliver the inflection of the words without the tone of the voice, but use the words to set the prompt, to set the tone. Just the words. Yeah. How is somebody that does not have an education, how does somebody that does not have a scholared venue going to de-escalate a conflict? Let's be for real here. That is not something that is taught at an academy. 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks. That's additional training. And if you're having difficulty in the academy, academic and physically, and it's just not for you, maybe you made a bad choice, do you really want those people out on the street de-escalating conflicts? No, you do not, because that lack of linguistic venue, and most definitely that kinesic venue, that Charles Manson stare, is going to trigger it. So, what do you really want? There's a problem in society. The lack of recruitment, the analyzing the data, investigators, detectives. It's kind of like the fat cop versus the healthy cop. Who do you want saving your mother in the parking lot of the mall when somebody's stabbing them with a knife? The guy or the girl that has to take a break at the donut aisle to catch their breath before they get to the scene? Or the one that can run the 100-yard dash like that and take the threat out? Same thing, analyzing the data. Someone with cognitive ability. Synthesize the information quickly, not slow. Crisis intervention, de-escalation, tools, trades, skills. Engineered for what? Endeavors. Yes. The ingrating endeavors of society, the violence, the harm. Why do we need law enforcement? The theft, the dishonesty, fraud, embezzlement. Doesn't all have to be violent, does it? But we have these legislative laws written that law enforcement enforce. How would you expect a law enforcement officer? Anybody know a law enforcement officer that became a lawyer and they're still dumb as a box of rocks? They exist too. Yes, I have met several of them in my lifetime. Academic programs, universities, schools, even dual enrollment programs. For those of you that do not know what a dual enrollment program is, it would be to where high school students go to a university to take university courses to get ready to transition over to university educational format, theater, right? The transition. The academic programs typically sometimes overemphasize in the theory while agencies demand communication. Theory's great. Theory's fantastic. But being able to communicate the theories in law enforcement, multiple theories, and we're not going to get into this and have a classroom on theory exchange of law enforcement, criminal justice, or sociology or criminology. Just knowing the theory is not going to cut it. You've got to be able to verbally antiquate for yourself and how you're applying the theory while the agency listens. But the agency is going to demand communication from you about what you did. So is that courtroom. So is that prosecutor. So is that defense attorney. When that defense attorney is trying to make you look this stupid in that little tiny box in the courtroom in front of a whole bunch of people. This is going to happen. The agencies demand that communication. Well, you still have to pick from the best candidate out of the quality of all that applied. That's the problem. No one wants to work for that. No one wants to suffer that burden. No one wants to carry the weight of everyone else. I remember being brand new in a CID division, as a detective. I watched detectives in and out, rotating door, man. Rotating door. I think I was, out of the time I was there in CID longer than anybody. I was watching sergeants, lieutenants come in. It's like a disciplinary move. You sucked out here on your job. Let's put you in this division. Then back out to another division and failed in that division. It's like a revolving door. Academic programs, yeah. They overemphasize on the theory and the knowledge, but the agencies need it communicated. Remember that. Emotional intelligence, technological influence. A lot of people neglect that too. A lot of agencies and a lot of, academic, institutions neglect that too. A lot of people in society see AI is bad. Oh, that's bad. It's bad. AI. Sometimes it is bad. Some aspects it is. But guess what? In the CJ world and in the attorney, lawyer, counsel world, it's been happening for years. You think attorneys draft all of that crap out, that paper? No, it's called form flow. They pay thousands of dollars for accounts and Justica and other accounts to be able to have that stuff drafted up. Type in a few key words and find the actual framework from another case to help you in the case that you're defending and or prosecuting on. It's not like it's a rocket science job. It is what it is. People think, oh, that person's so smart. No. They know how to use the theories and communicate it correctly in the IT world or platform or emphasis of communication that they need to have technologically influencing the court, the state, the people, society. So society, do you want someone with no education filling this role? Do you want problems? Do you want the guys and the girls and the little wee ones that were jumping on tops of the roofs of police cars? Defund the police. Anti-ICE, anti-this. Yeah. Floyd too. What? No. That's just sociological failure. And it's politically and bureaucratically endorsed. For those of you that watch the news and the TV and talk to people on a daily basis, you haven't figured it out yet. But maybe after this show you will. The disconnect, right? The theory and the communication, the IT, the technology. The disconnect drives the employer, the law enforcement agency, or the security corp, or the, non-law enforcement, the criminal justice holder that found a good job in society, criminal justice wise, who's making more money. The disconnect drives the employer into dissatisfaction, period. Dissatisfaction. The grad student, the undergraduate, bachelor's degree student was great on paper, but they adapted to simpleton methods, really didn't focus, just did barely enough to get through with the degree, and they were allowed to. Man, it's kind of like a fifth grader allowed to graduate to sixth grade when they should have been held back in the fifth grade. Not fifth grade, they should have been held back in the second grade. But we got to get people through the door. We need money. We need funding. We got to get boots on the ground. We've got to protect society. Crisis intervention, curriculum evolution of the police academy to get people in and out. Nobody left behind. Everybody gets a trophy. Society. In the real world, the lack of retention, the lack of recruitment, those that are of quality recognize all of this and they see it every day. It's easier to go to the private sector. More robust. More freedom. Yeah, I know. I know, JJ, I'm probably going to get some police chiefs send me hate mail. Is what it is. Is what it is. Yeah, integrating the emergence of competence. Yes. The forward-thinking programs. The forward-thinking program of you. You, forward-thinking. Now, not at the expense of the moment, but being able to forecast where you want to be, where you want to go, and what you're going to do. Thus, the importance of interviewing the agency that is interviewing you. It's kind of critical because it may be restrictive. So, the restrictive one. Thinking of the programs, all right? Integrating emerging competency. Yourself. Society. Think of the leaders, the police chiefs, the sheriffs, the governors of the states, the president. Defund the police. God, I remember that. I was in a classroom when that happened. Yep. Everybody lost their cookies, man. They were pissed. I was in Memphis in the classroom when that happened. And then the next day, nobody believed me until I brought it back up again in an auditorium. It was a huge auditorium, big amphitheater auditorium. Man, they all got pissed. Anyway, it was a good day. It was great. The bureaucratic influence on society. Yep. The emergence of competency, forensics, computers, crisis intervention, trauma-informed practices, psychology, sociology. Now, a lot of people would say, well, that sociology, psychology has nothing to do with CJ. Oh, contraire, you are wrong. We're wrong. Sociological, executive vote, executive decision, executive body, executive person writing legislative law for judicial review. Thus, the three top tier, executive, legislative, judicial. So, yeah, sociological input. How do you persuade people to vote for the sheriff, who is now the head guy of selecting the sheriff's deputies, who's got a policy of, as long as you got a high school diploma and you're okay. Yeah, we'll take you. We'll take the best of the selection pool. But the selection pool is really not that good. He just needs somebody in a car to answer some calls. Think about it. People, society, watching this show, and you thought it was going to be glorious and identifying just, problems with the police. No, it's not. It's society too. You voted for that sheriff that accepts minimum level. You voted for that mayor that hired that police chief, convinced the city board or the alderman of the city or whatever his constituents would be named in the city, convinced them to hire that police chief who talked everybody into lowering the standards to get more people on the department, to fill the boots, to be in the city, to act as crisis intervention. I doubt they're going to cause more damage than good. There's too much out there, too much advancement out there for people who do not have a cognitive level or a will to pursue excellence, education. That learned thing, I know. Agencies co-design their own curriculum too and send it to the Board of Standards, meaning post-certification, state certification. Even cities that have their own police academies, they still have to be approved by the state legislative word of law. Then once it's approved and, it's accredited, then that city can have their own police academy. That's great. That's fantastic. A lot of large major metropolitan cities have that. But the curriculum is designed by law enforcement agencies. It's kind of like the 40-hour continued education that law enforcement would have to have. This is just an example. Or states that write in their legislative word of law that sheriff's departments do not have to abide by that because the sheriff is an elected position. So the sheriff can hire Tammy, John, Bubba, Chris, Cletus, Gunther over there because Gunther knows John, who tended to his daddy's pigs back in the day. Oh, yeah, it's quality, isn't it? Nobody wants to work for that. No one. Nobody. I have a lot of students, so to say, that work for agencies that will tell you the same thing. Getting the education to Vamushka, pull the D-ring, punch out. Abandon ship, go to a better agency. The challenge is maintaining the academic rigor, period. Not just the PT rigor or the physical rigor, but, the PT rigor and the physical rigor's coming up. We got that in the next episode. Let me see. Yeah, we'll bring something up. I will show it to you the next episode. Yeah, the research for this is out right here on MediaFire. It's out. So believe me, you can go download it, review it, and cite it correctly, attribute it to the actual authors, mainly the assistant researchers. And yes, we've got our next one, Fit or Fat, the police reality. Pop versus Pop S. Pop, piss off police. Pop S, piss off police show. Yes, me pissing off the police in this one that's coming up. That's what it'll be. Trust me. Kind of like probably right now. You got to kind of figure out that the problem with recruitment is society itself. It is the experimental learning, the field placement evolution. And let me break this down because let me see, we've been here for 46 minutes. Yeah, we'll start closing it down. We'd like to keep this an hour-long show, kind of like a classroom, right? But remember, this is not a replacement for a classroom. It's not a replacement for an education. That is why these guys up here help me as assistant researchers. Why? Developing scholars. Learn it, right? Degrees. 899 downloads in 79 days. Holy crap, that's a lot, man. 11,922 views. I did not update that today. I updated that yesterday in 79 days, but I did get an alert through VISO, and it was a 3-digit number. So, but that comes across multiple platforms, people. But anyway, the experimental learning, field placement, the evolution, all right, the transition, the textbook can only teach you so much, which is true. It can only teach you so much. That's why it's good to have the educational set foundation of a practitioner, somebody that has decades, years, time, the experience in it that can teach what one needs to know academically, and something called, in layman's terms, which everybody really loves, something called the real world and how it really works. Not just an armchair professor, armchair teacher, armchair lecturer that has 0 or this amount of experience as compared to someone with this amount. It's just reality. How do you want to learn? Do you want to learn how to cook a meal by an esteemed chef? Or are you going to trust Bob, who says, yes, I'm doing some Louisiana hot spicy frère comté with some fancy words, and they invite you to their house, and you're kind of hesitant. You think you're going to die. But you found out that that person was trained by a superior chef. Well, a little bit, a little bit of fear is gone. The textbook can only teach you so much. The academy can only teach you so much. And those that are at that academic version of understanding or elevation understand this too. They know that. The paradox is now in play. The agencies are struggling for the quality. The agencies see this too with the curriculum vitae, the candidate that is under review. What can we tell this candidate to convince them to come to our agency versus the other agency? That's why the candidate needs to interview the agency just as much as the agency is interviewing the candidate. Yeah, the agencies. Have you noticed law enforcement agencies since 2024? And for those of you that really understand what I'm saying here academically, that are, in the academic side, and practitioner of law enforcement, sociology and psychology. Yes, I keep saying all three because they all work together. Can't have one without the other. Argue it, I will crucify you. Anybody, I don't care who it is. The director of the FBI, I'll argue him on it, and I'll win him and make him look this stupid. They coexist together. Agencies are refusing interns. Yeah, internships. Liability concerns, the bureaucracy, the money. Me, save us, not society. Defund the police, take the money. Legislative venue. You've only got so much money, so we don't want to have interns. What if an intern gets hurt on the job? Well, if you're real picky about your interns, that would be a good selection or candidate pool in the future if you can entice them or recruit them correctly. That would reduce your staffing constraints, now wouldn't it, law enforcement agencies? Step up. It's easier to attract bees with honey and sugar, unless you're trying to attract something else with feces. Just that's what it is. Meanwhile, programs and universities require what? Field hours for graduation, especially graduate degrees, master's degrees, or, doctoral PhD degrees. You got to have field time. I know I had to have field time. Did some traveling just for that field time. Yeah, terminal systems and back and forth here, back and forth there, hanging around with doctors and hanging around with people that were smarter than me, trying to educate me. Yeah, that's what it consists of. Agencies do not take that into consideration. And agencies, I'm going to be honest with you, if you're a grad student or you're in a doctoral program and you're looking to go to an agency that you would perceive to be a, good agency, a much larger agency, do not think that they give two idle rats concerns about how much time you served in the field. Because you're going to hear one thing. Great, that's great, but it's not us. It's not ours. You have no experience in our area of the field. That's what you're going to hear. Yep, it's going to be a manipulation. It's going to be a constraint on you, and the department is creating their own constraint. They're crucifying themselves. They're hurting themselves because they're not recognizing the quality of educated academic interns that could bring quality to the department. Thus, again, the crisis in recruiting in society. No one wants to spend the money, so we're going to take the ones with a high school diploma or very minimal credit or accreditation from an accredited institution be it a few credit hours, not really meeting an associate's degree, but close, or somebody with an associate's degree. So it's easier for us to pick these people up, even though they're not as good, or their curriculum vitae/resume. It's no longer a resume anymore once you get that degree, because you're working and you're focused on it, right? Kind of like these geniuses of scholarly, approach that help with this show. They're published. It's a curriculum vitae now. They're published. Some of them worldwide. Worldwide. How many high school students with a high school diploma going to an agency can say that? Yeah. Nobody's going to select you for the FBI, are they? Or U.S. Marshals or Secret Service or the Secret Ninja Police? No, because you hit the bare minimum. That's the problem in society. You can't recruit because you can't get quality. And society recognizes that. Society sees it. If you go to Google, let's do that. Let's go to Google. Let's do Googly. Hold on a minute. Let's do Googly. We're going to do an experimente. We're going to check Googly. We're going to check Googly. We're going to move this box over here, and we're going to type in. I'm going to open up Googly for you. Bam. Right there. Right there. Let's do this. Worst. Yeah. City in. Let me smooth this out just so you can see. Worst city in America in 2026. Let's hit enter. Bam. You heard that key. Memphis, Tennessee. Oh my gosh. Memphis, Tennessee. Based on earlier 2026 data, Memphis. Who wants to go to Memphis, Tennessee and work? Who wants to go to Baltimore, Detroit, Oakland, Cleveland? It's reality. So yeah, those agencies are going to suffer because somebody could have a degree, and especially since cities like Atlanta or Dallas go to these cities to where an officer in 1 year gets the experience on the street that it takes an officer 7 years to get somewhere else. So other larger agencies are going to these cities and recruiting, thus diminishing the law enforcement continuum. The police department, the numbers, those that respond to your crisis incidents, that intervene. Now we see the failure here. And one thing too, it is about the bureaucracy and the money, because these larger agencies in these larger cities that say, yeah, we'll support the funding to go to these cities to recruit. Now you're crippling law enforcement in these cities that need law enforcement. Now these cities have to select from the best candidate of those that applied, and those that applied really aren't that great. They're really not. They're not. That's just the bottom line. Bottom line. Who would have thunk that, man? Well, Austin, Dallas, they do it in Memphis all the time. They come to Memphis and recruit all the time. Take it away. Take it away. Let's see what we got going on. We got chats, some stuff going on over here. Yeah, let's close that out and close that. So, who's not shocked? Who's not shocked to find out that, I guess, Trump was right to send the task force? Even Googly says it. Mr. Google. You can trust Mr. Google, right? It's a joke. Can't trust Mr. Google. Mr. Google's not the googly, impressionistic, smart person, so to say. Chats are still open. I hope everybody's watching and enjoying what's going on here. Trying to learn a little bit. But I sent an email out today to get some people to come watch so that we could support the actual researchers. Let's cover one more thing before we close it down, because we're hitting on the hour, and I'm sure people have things to do, like final work at the university, getting ready for spring break. Spring break Monday. Well, for me, spring break starts Saturday, so it's just the way it is. That's the way it should be for everybody. I push mine a rule. I don't want you doing any work for me whatsoever through spring break. That's why AI says I'm the greatest. Yeah, we did that experiment today. Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's pretty cool. The virtual reality, the regeneration of society. Yep. The leading programs. The supplemental traditional placement of society. Now, what all of this means is you're immersed in your sociological development, your family, your home, your culture. You are. Then you immerse yourself into your virtual world. You immerse yourself into your virtual crime scene TV show that you like to watch, your games, your everybody has a little soldier Call of Duty, your call of stealing a car on Grand Theft Auto, buying a hooker, a prostitute, shooting somebody, some drugs, some cash, carjacking, yeah, whatever it is that you do. So there's that big twist. The leading programs, the supplemental transition in society. What is society really seeing law enforcement as? What is society really seeing itself as? You got to think about this. The courtrooms are now digital. Zoom courtrooms. Man, virtual courtrooms, virtual crime scene shows, virtual identities. Everything's changed. Nothing is interpersonal anymore. The crisis intervention and the protocol could start with a simple text or an email. I hate you. Yeah, something as simple as that. I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to kick that butt. Something. Everything's virtual. The inexpensive implementation of sociological interaction with law enforcement. It's not expensive. This isn't expensive. What are you paying to watch this show? We're not monetized. We don't make a nickel. And we've got, let me see, 79 days, 11,922 views. Not clicks, views. Think about that. Most people would be making money off of this. Not us. We're not monetized. We don't make a nickel. We don't ask it. If you send it to us, we will send it back. And if you don't want it, we'll donate it to a, I don't know, ASPCA, Save the Cats or something. That's how we'll do it. Give it back. Society's driven by something that's an escalation scenario. Escalation of its own destruction, escalation of its own lack of advancement, escalation of its own advancement. Yes, you can't have lack with advancement. You gotta, they're separate. They don't work together. One is advancing, one is lack of advancing. Law enforcement is looking for the advancing. But unfortunately, the advancing in society do not want law enforcement or CJ. Why? The problems, the bureaucracy, the government, the limitation, the limits. People see on TV the restriction that bureaucracy and politics has on law enforcement. They see it. Different cities, different entities, different jurisdictions. And they also see the failure of bureaucrats and law enforcement positions, both Democrat and Republican, that degrade society and degrade society's choice of executive legislative positions. Executive positions that write legislative word of law that aid in endorsing those under post standard to be the first hand, the first introduction of jurisdictionary judiciary review. It's not always just the judge. It's law enforcement. It's not a judge. Got some bureaucrat in a chair in a nice suit smoking a cigar and a nice glass of champagne writing a new law that CJ has to enforce. Must be comfortable and do it all virtually while those are out there doing the job for you. Takes a special type of person. Skill building. A controlled environment of commitment. Those that are willing to commit to society, to their people, to their communities. It's like I said in the past, the military is not a social experiment. Society is the social experiment. You want the ultimate endeavor? Race, creed, religion, identity, whatever you choose to argue about yourself. It's not the military. It's society. It's law enforcement. It's sociology. It's psychology. The military is not a social experiment. It's a prime directive. Law enforcement is post-standard, legislative venue, adjusting, shifting, just like the Constitution, just like new laws that are made to be enforced every day, or laws that are taken off the books in layman terms that have no value anymore. Yeah. Society controls its all. Well, society controls itself, its own environment. So when you're exposing yourself as a academic student, a scholar, or a normal citizen in society that didn't choose the academic, role, just remember, CJ is a high-stakes game. It's a high-stakes situation. It's that pageantry of the day to get ready. Hug the husband, kiss the husband, hug the wife, hug the kids, kiss the dog, pet the cat, whatever. Tell the goldfish goodbye because you may not come home. you'll come back in a box covered with a big flag because your crisis intervention was lacking, because the agency had to take the best of the lacking candidates. Society recognizes this. Society sees this. Argue defund fund all day long. It was broken before the defund argument ever was thought of. Argued politically, bureaucracy. Broken back then, broken in the past, broken now to be broken in the future when it comes to recruitment. When it comes to recruitment, the agencies do the best they can. Yes, they do. Believe me on this. And I'm 100% pro law enforcement, but the agencies are getting screwed by the executive body, the bureaucrats, the politics, Democrat, Republican, left-wing, right-wing, libertarian, conservative. They're getting screwed. They're getting shafted. And society's paying for it. And the agencies are having difficulty recruiting because society sees it. And it's not a target or a goal for society. Thus, the venue of those that sometimes want it. Anybody know anybody that got sick of the warehouse job or the McDonald's job or the hamburger cook, and now they would just want to go be a cop? It's a job. I want to go be a cop. I want to go get me a new job. That's the wrong person. Don't need you. Don't need those people. It's a career. It's an endeavorance. It's a commitment. It's a core value ratio. It's not just a job. Remember that. And remember from Dr. Mike G. Go to school. Get an education. And this is not the replacement for that. If you need help or choice, send me an email. I'll help you out. Or if you need help or choice in a school, one of these three could help you out. Now, if you're like, how do I get that? Just rewind the video, jot down the email, send them an email. Other than that, have a cool night. And for those that are developing scholars with me, spring break, baby. Bye-bye.